notice, Akane's character in the Kiru films got a very brief appearance, basically one or two scenes in Tokyo SOS, as opposed to her being a major character in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So yeah, instead we get new characters, and they're played by some really good actors like Hiroshi Kazumi and Minoru Chaki, if I'm saying that right. But yeah, I mean, the human characters in this one to me are really kind of drab. I mean, a lot of the things that involve them happen just because the script kind of demands it, and it's pretty freaking obvious. The most obvious use of this, although there's many times it happens, well, let me put it this way: the first part of it, I guess we see, Kobayashi and Hiroshi Kazumi's character are, I think, believe, are a fishing company who are flying in a plane that happens to fly past an island where, what do you know, Godzilla and Anguirus are fighting. Excuse me, isn't that spectacular? And then later on, it's the final battle where the Godzilla's on the iceberg, I believe. It's just Kobayashi's death, because it's weird that they tried to mimic the tragedy of how Serizawa sacrificed himself in Godzilla 1954, but here when Kobayashi sacrificed himself, it doesn't make any sense, and it's just bad, and just you don't really feel the impact of the character's death at all, really. I mean, we didn't know anything about him, so who really cares? And anytime monster action is not going on, the human characters struggle to really do anything memorable. I cannot think of a single thing they did that was really important, or any dialogue that was really worth remembering. Godzilla 1954 had so much, build up to Godzilla's actual appearance. There was so much going on between the characters, both emotionally, regarding their own personal lives, and the monster threat, that by the time Godzilla came around, it all just came together. Here, the monster stuff and human stuff feels so separate. When one or the other's not going on, you forget what kind of movie you've been watching sometimes. Getting to the monsters themselves, I actually like how Godzilla looks in this film. He has very few bad angles. Like I said before, it looks mainly like the 1954 suit. The only thing is it's slimmed down quite a bit. And this works pretty well. The only time I don't like this Godzilla version is when they use for the close-up shots of his face, they use a puppet, and the teeth are kind of really bad. I mean, they look kind of cool because they're jagged as hell, but the thing is, they poke all over the place, and makes Godzilla's jaw like it's broken or something. I don't know. And in the other corner is Anguirus as Godzilla's first ever opponent, and his roar is awesome. And I gotta say, I love this first version of Anguirus. Really fantastic. But nothing like it ever really appeared afterwards. After Anguirus would develop still an overall similar structure in 1968's Trail of Monsters, but he would look a lot friendlier, I should say. Although not just regarding future versions of Anguirus, I think Anguirus has always looked great, but this version looked a little more menacing. And to me, the fights are entertaining, but as anybody who knows about this movie and has watched it knows, there's several moments in the fight where the camera, most of the time we're used to two giant god-looking monsters lumbering around, slowly battering each other. But in this movie, there was a camera accident. I guess the monster fights were instead sped up. So we get the monsters moving around very fast, almost cartoonishly so, which is pretty sad because a lot of the shots are pretty great, even though they had weird camera error going on. And the odd thing is, I hear that Tsuburaya actually said, why not try from the whole movie like this then? So although not the entire fight is shot like this, it's still seen many times. And those scenes, I mean, it doesn't completely ruin the film for me, but it does make it a little odd. I think some scenes are played a lot better at the normal slowed down version, the way they do it, of filming a monster fight. But still, all in all, though, I still like the fight scenes are pretty great. Not to mention, this movie had the to me, one of the best endings to a monster fight, where Godzilla, spoiler for a movie that's, decades old, Godzilla kills Anguirus by biting into his neck until blood is drawn, and ultimately killing Anguirus. That was a very animalistic way to end it all, and very impressive. It also makes you wonder how Anguirus ever came back and Trail of Monsters, but that's a question I'm not going to bother to dig up right now. Separate Anguirus, who knows? Same one who survived, who knows? It doesn't really matter. The point of the matter is the fight was, decent, and I should also note, for sake of the dissection, it was the only monster fight that would take place in the city for quite some time as far as Godzilla movies go. Every Godzilla movie after this, up until maybe Godzilla vs. Hedorah, would basically have a fight in the countryside or random islands or in water, but never in the actual city itself. Which to me was always a weird storyline, because when people think Godzilla movies, they automatically think destruction in the cities. But this movie actually was the first to do that, but it was the last for quite some time, decades in fact. Almost 20 years went by before they decided to make Godzilla fight in the city again. And for what reason this is done, I'm not entirely sure. But to me, it's fine. I mean, some of the best Godzilla fights have happened, out in the forest of Mount Fuji, like in Destroy All Monsters. So you don't have to need buildings getting wrecked to have a good monster fight. That definitely is not the case. So the story overall, like I said, Japanese fishermen discover Godzilla and Anguirus. Somehow, someway, the monsters eventually find their way to Japan and start fighting there. Then, once the main, stock of action is pretty much used up, Godzilla kills Anguirus and heads back out to sea, where they discover him at an iceberg of all places, where they attack him with jets, until finally Kobayashi, who runs out of missiles and bombs, decides to accidentally, well, not accidentally, he decides to, for some reason, sacrifice himself, quote unquote, by crashing into Godzilla. Of course, it doesn't work, and he crashes into the mountainside, starting a small avalanche. So then they plan a new tactic where they just want to bury Godzilla in ice, which sets up his entrance in King Kong vs. Godzilla. That's interesting to me, because when I first saw King Kong vs. Godzilla, I always wondered, why is he trapped in the ice? And then I finally saw this movie and it made sense. Like, oh, okay. But in any case, the cinematography in this movie, it's half and half. A lot of the scenes look really good, and then others are subpar because of the way the camera speed was used. But overall, this movie suffers from just a feeling of dullness. There's no sense of urgency when the monsters are not on screen. Just the simplest way to put it, the writing was nowhere near as strong as the previous film, and the film suffered for it greatly. But to me, it's definitely not one of the worst Godzilla movies. You could do a whole lot worse. And like I said, it has a few merits going for it. Like I said, decent monster fights, great designs for the monsters themselves, and like I said, because of this movie we got Anguirus, so you can't truly hate the movie for what it is. This movie I would definitely rate it 7 out of 10. It's definitely not a leader among Godzilla films, but it's definitely not one of the worst. It's just in the middle, So that's all we have to say about Godzilla Raids again, guys. Sorry if it feels a little shorter than most, but this is a Godzilla movie that, doesn't really speak to me that much as opposed to other ones, especially the fact that this one came after such a powerful Godzilla film, 1954, which is focused on being a metaphor and had a message to it. This movie did not bring up the whole idea of nuclear war, except maybe once or twice, but not really. The film was focused on one thing only, that was selling tickets and the exciting idea of monster fights, which, don't get me wrong, are very entertaining, and not every Godzilla movie has to be an allegory, but this was quite a sudden turn already to just straight monster action and not anything behind the story, especially behind the human characters. So that's why I don't feel too strongly about this movie. But like I said, it's a decent one, not horrific.